Discover 5 Sinister Motel stories revealed, haunting tales of the cursed and unexplained. Elena trailed behind Mia, clenching her grip on their worn suitcase. The Sunset Motel loomed ahead, its neon light flickering like a dying star. Shadows danced around its crumbling facade, and an unsettling hush fell over the parking lot. Even at noon, an invisible weight pressed on her chest. The faded sign promised joy, but all Elena felt was dread. A shiver ran down her spine as they crossed the threshold. Inside, the air was thick, heavy with nostalgia and something unnameable. The lobby's faded wallpaper peeled like the skin off an ancient wound. An elderly clerk eyed them from behind the reception desk, his gaze piercing and void of warmth. "You here for a good time or a bad one?" he croaked, a knowing smile creeping across his face that made Elena's stomach churn. Elena forced a smile and checked in, but as they stepped into room 8, a chill swept over her. The sagging bed and the peeling paint whispered secrets of lost souls. Mia darted around the room, oblivious to the shadows lurking just beyond the threshold. Each corner Elena turned felt like stepping deeper into something dark. As twilight wrapped its fingers around the motel, she noticed a musty scent that was distinctly off, like damp wood mixed with fear. "Mom, look!" Mia called, pointing at a crack in the wall. "I wonder what's in there." "Honey, stay close to me," Elena warned, her voice tight. But Mia's curiosity was insatiable, and Elena felt the shadows beckon, urging her to look deeper into the heart of the place. As night descended, Elena's unease morphed into a primal fear. She stepped into the back office, her heart thudding louder than her footsteps. There, she found an ancient scrapbook, its cover dusted with neglect. The moment she opened it, a chill coursed through her. Dark stories unfolded before her. A former couple vanished without a trace, a family whose screams were drowned out by the motel's icy silence. Each page added a layer to the history of the place, revealing a sickening veil of darkness beneath its dilapidated charm. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, a shriek sliced through the stillness. Panic gripped Elena as she whirled around, searching for her daughter. "Mia!" she screamed, her voice breaking. The hallway stretched infinitely, shadows curling and lengthening, the temperature plummeting as if the motel had taken a breath. The walls loomed like ancient giants, absorbing everything, not allowing the sound to escape. Mia was gone, terror clawed at Elena's insides. The motel pulsed with an unsettling energy, feeding off her fear. "Mia!" she yelled again, but her cries echoed back to her, swallowed whole. The grotesque laughter of a child rippled through the air, pulling her further into the motel's abyss. Elena's heart pounded in her ears as she raced through the dimly lit corridors, her mind screaming that the deepest horrors hide in plain sight. What history had she stumbled upon? What fate awaited them? Elena felt it, that transient sliver of hope fading with each footstep, yet she pressed on, chasing the echoes of laughter that bounced from every corner. Would they become mere pages in the motel's sinister scrapbook, just another tragic tale swallowed by the shadows? Elena's breaths came in quick gasps as her eyes darted from the flickering lights to the looming shadows. She could still hear Mia's laughter, dancing at the edges of her sanity, luring her deeper into the motel's belly. "Mia!" she called again, but the word felt like a pebble tossed into an abyss, swallowed by a silence that felt almost mocking. Desperation clawed at her throat like a vine tightening around her neck. The tan walls with their peeling paint whispered secrets, their whispers growing louder, shifting into haunting echoes of the past. She could almost see the faces of lost souls, trapped in their own torment, imprinting their dread into every crevasse of the motel. Hesitating for a moment, she faced two narrow doorways at the end of the hallway. One swung slightly open, creaking ominously, while the other loomed closed, shadowy and still. Elena's gut churned, a violent knot of fear and determination. She had to choose. Swallowing hard, she took a step toward the open door, driven by instinct, desperate to find her daughter. Inside, the room felt like a grave. The stale air hit her like a brick wall, suffocating and thick. Every corner felt like it held secrets, and those secrets didn't want to be found. Elena swung her flashlight across the space, revealing a disheveled room littered with broken furniture and remnants of forgotten lives. But it was the wall that caught her attention, strange markings scratched into the plaster, jagged lines that seemed to form grotesque shapes, a child's dainty hands twisted in a macabre dance. Mia? Her voice trembled as she stepped closer to the wall, fingers brushing against the markings. What had happened in this place? The vivid images in her mind: lost children, torment, despair made her stomach churn anew. A sudden thud pulled her back into reality, a noise echoing from the hallway. She stumbled into the corridor, heart racing, every shadow now appearing alive, writhing as if anticipating her presence. Mia! She called again, voice cracking under the weight of her fear. She pressed forward, closer to the source of the sound. With each step, she felt the air grow colder. Something wasn't right. The laughter had transformed now. It snarled with a mixture of glee and malice, rising in a crescendo that sent chills shooting down her spine. This laughter was not just playful, it was menacing, echoing like a death knell. Elena, a whisper trailed through the air, low and haunting. So familiar yet so distorted. The hair on the back of her neck stood up. Elena, help me, Mia. Panic clawed at her insides as she turned, but the voice was wrong, distorted, tainted with something dark. The hallway warped, morphing into a blur of shadows and memories. Elena felt an unnatural force pulling at her, disorienting her sense of direction, stretching the walls as if mocking her. Desperation ignited her legs, pushing her forward, but as she ran, the motel seemed to constrict, pushing her back with unseen hands. No! I'm coming, Mia! She dashed forward, instinct screaming at her to push past the haunting echoes. Suddenly, a door slammed shut somewhere down the hall, cutting the laughter off mid-cackle. A chill swept through her, paralyzing her feet to the floor. Mia! The last remnants of her strength poured into that single word, a prayer and a plea fused into one. Breaking free of her stupor, Elena sprinted toward the door, her fingers fumbling against the handle. She shoved it open, heart pounding like a deafening drum, ready to confront whatever lay within. What she stumbled upon next twisted her stomach into knots. Shadows writhed and danced in the dim light, and in the center, Mia's vacant eyes stared back. Yet, it was not her daughter before her, it was something far more sinister, and it beckoned her to step closer. Mommy, help me! The voice dripped off the creature's lips, mixing sorrow with something else entirely, a promise of despair. Elena's mind raced. What have I done? What have I unleashed? Behind her, the motel walls creaked, whispers swelling into a deafening roar, urging her to join the darkness. Would she find Mia or become another whisper in the motel's twisted stories? As the entity stretched out its hands toward her, she knew one thing for certain: she wouldn't leave this place alone. The moment of realization washed over her, and she took a step back, heart hammering, the shadows closing in. Elena's breath caught in her throat as she took a stumbling step back, the false image of Mia swaying like a marionette in the growing darkness. The room felt suffocating, the walls seemed to pulse like a living heartbeat, and despair dripped from the ceiling like sweat, saturating the air with terror. This was no longer a mother searching for her child, it was a desperate plea against the very essence of the motel, a battle between light and encroaching shadows. Help me, Mommy! The creature's voice, a sick parody of her daughter's innocence, echoed off the walls, each syllable twisting a knife in her heart. Reflexively, she raised a hand to shield her eyes from that haunting gaze, the weight of despair almost dragging her to her knees. The thing no longer her. Mia moved closer, the shadows wrapping around it like a shroud. I'm scared, it whispered, feigning fragility, and for a brief moment, the flicker of hope ignited deep within her. Could it be? Was Mia trapped inside that horrific form, crying out for salvation? But the shadows danced in a frenzy, laughing, mocking her. It felt as though the very room was alive, its intentions dark and twisted, drugging her mind with confusion. "You left me," the voice changed, echoing from somewhere deep within the thing, layered with distortion. "You didn't protect me." "Stop!" Elena screamed, slamming her hands against her ears. She couldn't listen. She couldn't give in. Rage ignited within her, burning away the creeping dread. "You're not Mia. Where is she?" With a sudden thrust of terror, the creature lunged, its fingers elongated into claws, stained black as the very void from which it emerged. Elena recoiled, scrambling back across the threshold of the door, heart racing, mind racing even faster. The hotel walls vibrated, and the very air crackled. Her chest tightened as she struggled to breathe, panic pooling in her stomach like a cold stone. "No! I want to let you take me." With newfound determination, she dove into the narrow hallway, fear turning into pure survival instinct. Every step echoed against the linoleum, a frantic heartbeat amidst the chorus of shadows. The laughter continued, morphing into something sinister as she ran, tugging her towards another doorway. Elena spotted a glimmer, a stairway leading down, spiraling into darkness. Maybe there was an exit there. Maybe it was where Mia had gone. "Mia!" She cried again, desperate now. She could almost picture her daughter, innocent and playful, beckoning her from below, but as she reached the first step, dread filled her veins. Behind her, the door shattered into splinters, and the guttural laughter erupted, drowning her spirit. "Come back, Mommy!" The voice now embodied 1,000 lost souls, each taunt layering on her skin. "Stay with us." She didn't look back. She couldn't afford to lose another moment, not with that creature stalking behind her. As she descended, a chill clutched her heart, but a flicker of hope punctured the gloom. The way out had to be down. The further she went, the more oppressive the air became, thick as syrup and reeking of despair. The walls closed in, painted with the echoes of those who suffered before her, whispering stories of loss and torment. Then, she saw a faint light shining from the bottom. Elation surged through her. Maybe, just maybe, she would find Mia there. But as she neared the source, the light dimmed, replaced by a chilling silence that wrapped around her like a vice. Elena's resolve teetered, catching in her throat. What awaited her in that light? Was it salvation or the final trap of the motel? "Mommy!" the voice called again, sweet but soaked in treachery. Her heart raced as terror flooded her veins. Could she trust it? The shadows lurked behind her, waiting for her decision with palpable hunger. Steeling herself, Elena plunged toward the light, knowing little of the horrors about to unfold. She had to find Mia before it was too late, before the motel claimed them both forever. Just before she reached the door at the bottom of the staircase, she heard a whisper. "Elena, you can't leave me." But what? If Mia was not the only one still trapped? The old wooden door creaked as Elena pushed it open, the sound echoing ominously in the thick silence. The air shifted, heavy with an unseen presence. The faint light flickered, illuminating the room like a nervous flame, revealing walls marked with desperate claw marks and faded photographs of smiles now long vanished. Every picture was an echo of laughter turned to ash. "Mommy, hurry!" the voice again taunting, persistent as if Mia were just at the edge of the shadows. Elena stepped inside, heart pounding, every instinct screaming that she should turn back. The room felt impossibly small, the corners closing in around her, pressed by the weight of the past. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to breathe, reminding herself of her mission. "Mia!" She called out, voice quaking, knowing it was a mistake, yet unable to stop the words from spilling out. "I'm here. Where are you?" No answer came, only a whisper of air that seemed to brush against her skin, threatening to steal her breath away. She took another step, and the floorboards groaned under her weight, as if protesting her intrusion. Then she heard its small footsteps, hesitant but unmistakable, padding just beyond her sight. They stopped, an eerie stillness wrapping itself around the room like a noose. Elena rushed forward, drawn by those sweet, innocent sounds. "Mia?" she called again, almost pleading. She couldn't let fear grip her heart. Not now. A shape emerged from the darkness, a small figure, familiar yet distorted. Her heart skipped. "Mia?" But as the girl stepped into the light, Elena froze. The child's face was twisted in shadow, eyes sunken, skin pale and strained, as though life itself had been sucked from her. "Mia?" she stammered, feeling the grip of panic close around her throat. The figure smiled, but the smile was wrong, all wrong, too wide, too eager. "Why did you leave me, Mommy?" The voice was deceptively sweet, like candy twisted with poison, and it struck at her heart like an axe. "No. I didn't leave. I'm here now." Elena stepped back, fear spilling into every crevice of her mind. The thing laughed, a bubbling mirth that splintered her sanity. "Come play with me." The shadows in the corners of the room slithered closer, creeping forward, hungry to claim her. Elena turned to run, but as she pivoted, she stumbled, catching herself just as the darkness lunged. She darted toward the opposite wall, eyes darting everywhere, desperately seeking an escape. "No! You can't leave!" The chorus of voices intensified, each one layering on her like an avalanche. "You promised, Mommy. You promised not to leave us." Sweat cascaded down her back, and her breath came in shallow gasps. She found herself against the wall, her palms pressed against the cool surface, her mind racing. There had to be a way out. The door. She had to reach the door. Gathering every ounce of courage, she lunged through the oppressive air toward the door, but as her hand gripped the doorknob, the laughter escalated into madness, drowning out her heartbeat. "Stay with us, Mommy." The door rattled violently in her grasp, as if possessed. She pulled, teeth gritted, assuming the shadows would relent, but they surged forward, constricting her like a serpent, coiling tighter and tighter. As the whispers became screams, panic reached a boiling point, and with one last desperate push, Elena flung the door open. And was met by a hallway stretching into an abyss of darkness. "Where are you going?" The child's voice echoed with the weight of 1,000 souls, each threatening to drag her down. "You can't escape us." Heart racing, Elena stood at the threshold, the darkness beyond swallowing her whole. Facing the choice between the unknown and the horror at her back, she hesitated, doubt creeping in like the shadows themselves, but then came a whisper, softer, tremulous, unmistakably Mia's, "Mommy, don't leave me please." And with that haunting plea, the choice crystallized. For one more moment, Elena breathed in the cool air, gathering courage. What lay beyond? Could she save her daughter, or was she already too late, as she plunged into the obscurity? The laughter echoed after her, a promise of madness lurking in the shadows. Each step forward felt like a descent into hell itself, but a flicker of hope remained. Somewhere in that shadowy tapestry, Mia was waiting. Or was it just another cruel trick of the motel? Elena pressed on, determined to unravel the truth before the darkness consumed her completely. Just as she felt a sudden chill, a pull from behind, she heard a different voice altogether. "Welcome back to the motel." The darkness wrapped around Elena like a thick, suffocating fog as she stepped into the hallway. Shadows shifted, their forms twisting and writhing, reaching out toward her. Every whisper seemed to slice through her skin, prickling her nerves. "Mommy, Mommy." The voice was nearer now, but there was an unwelcome depth, a mocking lilt that sent chills down her spine. "Mia?" she called, trying to sound calm, but dread coiled around her words. "Where are you, baby?" A flicker of light danced in the distance, illuminating the hallway in bursts, then vanishing, leaving her alone with the cacophony of echoes, distorted laughter, calls for help, and something darker, guttural, pulling at her sanity. She took a hesitant step forward, heart hammering in her chest. The smell of decay and dust filled her nostrils. Each footfall echoed like a ticking clock, every sound amplifying her fear. Mommy. The cry shattered the silence like glass breaking. It was Mia's voice, unmistakable and desperate. It stabbed Elena, drawing her deeper into the corridor. She ran, feet pounding against the worn floorboards, desperate to reach the source. Just around the corner, she thought, locking onto the glimpses of light that flickered ahead, but the light flickered again, and she found herself in front of a door, splintered and warped. An overwhelming sense of dread swept over her as she reached toward it. The doorknob was cold as ice, sending a jolt through her hand. Taking a breath, she twisted it and pushed. It creaked open slowly, revealing a room steeped in shadows. The awful laughter wrapped around her, teasing, taunting echoing inside her mind. Mia! She shouted, her voice trembling as she fought the clenching darkness. The room was small, cluttered with old toys and discarded remnants of childhood, a once vibrant nursery turned graveyard of lost moments. In the corner, something moved. Her eyes shot toward it, and there it was, a small figure, hunched over, playing. A fleeting sense of hope surged. Mia! She cried again, but the figure didn't turn. Instead, it continued quietly, its little hands working over broken dolls, heads twisted at odd angles. Mia, please! Desperation crept in as she stepped closer. A rush of air chilled her. The thing lifted its head slowly, revealing a face that was both familiar and grotesque. The sunken eyes sparkled with malice, the smile stretched too wide. Look what I found, the figure cooed, puppeteering the lifeless dolls with eerie delight. They're waiting to play with you, Mommy. Elena felt the ground shift beneath her, a primal instinct urging her to flee. You're not Mia. She spat, stepping back. Yes, I am. It screeched suddenly, its voice a flat echo that chilled her to the bone. You left me, didn't you? You promised. The laughter rose high-pitched, dancing on the edges of her sanity. Elena turned, bolting back into the hallway, heart racing. The shadows pressed in closer, whispering secrets that burned in her mind. The laughter grew louder, morphing into a cacophony that echoed like the cries of the damned. What do you want from me? She screamed, voice cracking as she stumbled forward blindly, fear blinding her. The shadows swirled, a maelstrom of darkness closing in, each whisper a knife in her heart. To stay forever they surrounded her, mist curling around her legs as coldness seeped into her bones, desperation clawed at her. Mia! I'll find you! She shouted into the void, but the shadows twisted her words, turning them into mockery. As she raced down the corridor, another door loomed in front of her. This one was decorated faded yellow paint, a cheerful trim that screamed safety. She reached for the handle, heart pounding, breath ragged. Before she could grasp it, a voice hissed from the shadows, "That's not how the game works, Mommy." Elena froze, the realization crashing over her like an ice-cold wave. She was trapped, playing a game with rules she didn't understand. Where are you, Mia? She felt the walls closing in, despair clawing at her. And then, from somewhere deep within the darkness, came a soft, insistent whisper. You'll find me, but at what cost? With those haunting words, Elena understood, the depths of the motel were unfathomable. What lay in wait, beyond her reach? Each choice held a darker consequence. And as the laughter echoed, sharp and piercing, she took a breath and opened the door. What awaited her on the other side was unknown, but it was a risk she had to take. Welcome home, Mommy, the shadows murmured, and the door creaked open wide. The door swung open with a slow creak, revealing a room that felt alive, pulsating with dark energy. Dim light flickered from a rusted lamp in the corner, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to dance along the walls. The air was thick with an oppressive weight, a stale miasma that clawed at her throat and filled her head with dread. Elena stepped inside, each movement heavy as if wading through mud. The faded wallpaper peeled away, exposing raw patches where something unspeakable had lingered. Her pulse raced, drumming against her neck like a war drum. Mia? She called out, her voice barely a whisper, swallowed by the mounting darkness. The silence that followed felt alive, closing in around her. In the corner, a figure emerged from the shadows, another child, this one a boy, no older than 6. He stared at her, eyes wide and black as midnight. Yet there was something unnatural about him, something that twisted her stomach with a gnawing fear. "You shouldn't be here," he warned, his voice flat and hollow. "It's not safe." "What do you mean?" Elena shot back, desperate for answers. "I'm looking for my daughter." He nodded slowly, as if he knew a secret. "She's here somewhere. You have to play the game to find her." A chill spread through Elena. "What game?" A smile twitched at the corners of his mouth, but it didn't reach his eyes. "The shadows will decide." Before she could respond, the walls seemed to flutter, and the laughter, all those high-pitched, mocking giggles, returned, swelling until it felt like her mind would burst. Panic set in. "No!" She turned to flee, but the door slammed shut behind her, an echo reverberating like a death knell. She was trapped. The boy pointed at a stack of old, dust-covered board games piled haphazardly on a wobbly table. "Choose one. It's mandatory." Elena's heart raced, knowing this was a choice she couldn't afford to mess up. She stepped forward. The titles were laughably innocent: Hide and Seek, Evening's End, Treasure Hunter. A flicker of light caught her eye on the bottom of the pile, revealing a dark game that seemed different from the rest: Shadow Play. The moment she touched it, a pulse rippled through the air, thick and heavy, pressing against her skin. "That one," the boy said, trembling with excitement. "You'll need a partner." No longer able to ignore the echoes of her daughter's name crying out in the distance, she yelled, "I'm not playing this game alone." The walls trembled, shadows curling around her like hungry snakes. "You'll need courage, Mommy," the boy said, his small fingers trembling as he reached toward her. "And sacrifices." Elena's mind raced, error clawing at her. Was the boy a part of this twisted game? Was he trapped like her? Unable to look away from his penetrating gaze, she felt the weight of choices tightening around her throat like a noose. Before she could respond, the shadows deepened, swirling into tendrils that twisted and shouted in a cacophony of agony. "Find the light or surrender to the dark," they hissed, echoing her thoughts, taunting her. "Tell me where she is." She screamed, but the laughter crescendoed, envelopes of darkness tightening until she could hardly breathe. The boy remained stoic. "Play the game, and you may find out what you're really capable of." With trembling hands, she opened Shadow Play. The pieces scattered across the table, glimmering ominously, as the muffled cries of her daughter echoed around her. In that moment, it felt like time stood still, holding its breath for what was to come. Would she emerge with her daughter? Or was this just another twisted trick of the shadows? A voice whispered from the depths, "Choose wisely, Mommy, it's your move," and the room shuddered as darkness closed in tighter, her time running out. Would she dare take a chance, or would she let the shadows consume her? The air crackled with a sinister energy as Elena's fingers brushed against the game box. Shadow Play seemed to thrum with a life of its own, pulsating ominously in the dim light. She felt icy dread creep up her spine, gnawing at her resolve. The boy's gaze bore into her, expectant, unervingly knowing. "Just pick the pieces, Mommy," he urged, his voice smooth yet sharp, like ice sliding across glass. "We will help you remember the rules." Taking a deep breath, she hesitated before lifting the lid. The game board unfurled like a dark tapestry, its surface inked with twisted paths and ominous symbols. Shadows coiled in every corner, whispering malevolently. The sight made her stomach churn. "What do I do?" she whispered, barely able to hear herself over the blood pounding in her ears. The boy pointed to various spaces, his finger brushing against the board's surface ever so gently. "Move that piece. Start your turn." Elena grabbed one of the figures, a small, wretched-looking creature with a gnarled face. It felt cold and heavy in her palm, as if it inhaled warmth from the air around it. A shiver ran through her, but she pushed it aside. She had to find Mia. 3 spaces forward, the boy instructed. Without hesitation. With trembling hands, she pushed the piece ahead. The moment it landed on a black square, the room shuddered. The shadows escalated, forming dark, looming shapes that seemed to leer at her from every corner. The giggles from before transformed into ominous whispers, chanting her name, drawing her deeper into the game. "Time's up, Mommy," the boy purred, his tone shifting to something darker. The shadows desire a sacrifice. Sacrifice? Elena's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "Your fear fuels the game," he said, the shadows shimmering, alive with intent. "You're not just playing for yourself, each turn costs a piece of your soul." Sudden panic gripped her, freezing her in place. What had she done? Could she reverse the turn? "Every move counts, Mommy. This time, roll the dice," he urged, the excitement in his eyes dancing like flames. The boy's delight turned her stomach. Despite her dread, she reached for the die, rolling it with a desperate flick. It clattered across the table, painted faces mingling with darkness as it came to a stop on the number 5. The air turned colder, and everything shifted. The shadows howled in a cacophony, pressing closer, wrapping around her like chains. What happens now? She breathed, but she felt like she was drowning in darkness. "There's a choice," the boy said, eyes glinting with wicked mischief. "You can either take a piece from the heart of the game, or give up some of your joy." "What does that even mean?" she cried, glancing around, desperate for a way out. "Joy is light, Mommy. Remember it. Or let it go and embrace the dark." The room tilted, and her thoughts spiraled. She could hear Mia's voice, faint yet urgent. It clawed at her mind, significantly blurred by fear and a deepening plunge into despair. A decision loomed over her, and the walls pulsed again with shadows thickening every second. She felt their breath on her skin hot, tainted with all the things she feared most. Elena bit her lip, feeling the weight of dread settle heavily in the pit of her stomach. If she chose wrong, would she lose everything? Or lose herself? "Choose quickly," echoed through the room, insistently, disorienting her senses. As dark tendrils caressed her, alive with anticipation, she felt her heart thudding painfully. Was there even a way to win? The boy's eyes sparkled with something deeply unsettling. "What will it be, Mommy? Your joy or—" Suddenly, the game pieces rattled, as if alive. The shadows swirled tighter, twisting into a vortex of despair. The boy clapped his hands, the laughter returning to pitch maddeningly high. "Let us see if you are brave enough to play." Elena's breath quickened as the shadows beckoned her ever closer, tightening around her with a malicious glee. Could she muster the strength to challenge them? Or would she surrender to the dark before the light reached her? "Make your choice, Mommy," the boy whispered, echoing all the truths she feared to confront. "Your move," and then everything went silent, a silence so deep it seemed to swallow her whole, leaving only the distant, haunting cries of a child echoing in the void. What was left of her joy? Elena's breath hitched, the silence threatening to suffocate her. Unable to escape the growing weight of despair wrapped around her, she fought the urge to scream for Mia. The boy's grin widened, stretching impossibly across his pale face, eyes alight with twisted glee. "Time is precious, Mommy," he taunted, the shadows pulsing rhythmically, as if they sensed her hesitation. "What will it be? Your joy, or a piece from the game?" Words tumbled from her lips. "What happens if I take a piece from the game?" His laughter echoed hauntingly, bouncing off the walls. "You'll see the truth, but at what cost?" The air thickened with anticipation, as if the very atmosphere was waiting for her choice. She glanced down at the board, her heart racing. The symbols flickered, almost writhing. Sorrow and dread wove a tapestry of memories she desperately needed to confront, yet fear rooted her to the spot. In that heartbeat of time, another whisper echoed through her mind, clear as day. "Find me. Mia's voice, bright and insistent, cut through the shadow's currents, urging her forward. "Choose, Mommy," the boy crooned, inching closer, his presence suffocating. "Please, okay," Elena whispered, the decision wresting itself from her core. She didn't want to lose what remained of her joy, but Mia's face, her little girl's bright smile, flickered before her eyes, pleading for her attention. With a deep breath laced with courage, she reached for the heart of the game, the center of the board. The moment her fingers grazed the surface, the shadows shrieked in protest, swirling violently around her. The piece felt alive, hot beneath her skin as if it pulsed with whatever held the game together. Images flooded her mind, memories mixed with nightmares, moments of Mia laughing, but also shadows tugged at her happiness. "Now, imagine you give me a piece of your joy," the boy whispered, leaning close, dread glimmering in his eyes. "What will you let go?" His tone was syrupy sweet, but his intentions dripped with malice. "I want to lose her." Elena shot back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The shadows hissed louder, drowning out the echoes of her own voice. "You'll never take Mia from me." The shadows roared, and the boy's expression darkened. "You're already playing your part, Mommy. Don't you see?" In that instant, the board erupted, the pieces shot across the table, scattering like frightened rats. The room spun, the walls pulsing. A wave of intense emotion crashed over her, a creeping despair. "Joy feeds the darkness. You must choose." The boy screamed, his small form stretching impossibly as he transformed into a shape composed entirely of swirling blackness, writhing like smoke. Elena stumbled back, her heart racing. "No. I want to let you in. I can fight this." The shadows closed in, their icy fingers gripping her limbs. She could feel the weight of her memories slipping away, the joyous moments with Mia fading into the suffocating darkness. "Breathe. You're so close." The words cut through the chaos. With a jolt, she understood, fear held the key. The shadows craved her terror, consuming it hungrily, twisting her joy into despair. Elena focused, summoning every ounce of protection toward her heart as she gazed into the storm. "I'll fight you." With that declaration, the shadows recoiled, hissing. She felt a moment of stillness, a flicker of warmth embracing her. "Now, look at your fears," the boy urged, his voice now a distorted whisper. As if compelled, she stared into the vortex of darkness, a baleful mirror reflecting her deepest fears and insecurities. The vision blurred, revealing fractured pieces of her soul, memories that tugged at her heart. "Leave me!" she screamed, voice cracking. "You won't win. I still have Mia." The shadowy figure paused, letting her words hang in the air. She could feel the tension shifting as she defiantly grasped at her joy, determined to hold on tight. But the boy only encouraged, "Can you save her, Mommy? Or are you destined to lose everything?" With that challenge hanging like a blade over her head, the shadows writhed restlessly, eager for her response. What dark sorrows awaited her at the end of this game? Would she embrace the false light of a sacrifice, or could she conquer this nightmare? Elena's heart thundered in her chest, each beat echoing a rhythm of fear that harmonized with the shadows swirling around her. The boy's laughter mirrored the chaos, a mocking sound that resonated deep within her core. Could she face her fears and still protect Mia? The room quaked beneath a tremor of energy that felt alive, pulsating with every emotional nuance she experienced. Every shadow lurking, every agonizing memory clawed at her mind, blurring the lines between truth and nightmare. She felt like a tightrope walker over an abyss of despair, balancing precariously on the fine line between hope and utter darkness. "Choose!" the boy shrieked, a creature of shadows leaping into close proximity. His face twisted grotesquely, fingers elongated, gripping her chin as he forced her gaze deeper into the shadows. "What will you surrender? The joy of today, or the chance to bring Mia back?" Images flared before her eyes, Mia giggling, running in the park, skin glowing under the warm sun, a world full of brightness. But then the shadows contorted, intertwining with those memories. Veils of gloom enveloped her heart, whispering dread into her ears, reminders of each moment of fear she had ever felt. The bullying incidents at school, the tears when Mia had lost her favorite doll, the dread lurking in the corner of every darkened room. No! She gasped, panic shattering her focus. I won't give in. And then it came, a voice, soft but clear. Mommy! Help me! It reverberated through her like a surge of electricity, sparking the remnants of her willpower. The boy's laughter shattered her resolve momentarily, but the familiar call pierced the chaos anew, igniting a flame of desperation to protect her daughter. Leave her alone! Elena shouted, battling against the shadows clawing at her skin, tightening their grip around her heart. You can't have Mia. Don't you want to know the truth? The boy tilted his head as if he were truly curious, delight glinting in his reflective stare. What happened? Why she's here? What darkness looms over her? Her knees buckled, solid ground fading under her. Stop! She shrieked, a mix of anguish and defiance surging through her. Time stretched, the shadows seeming to pull and twist around her like living entities, whispering of forgotten memories. They licked at the edges of her sanity, hungry to consume every ounce of joy. What do you want? She cried, her voice wavering now as the darkness enveloped her tightly, smothering any light. What is this game? It's not a game, Mommy. The boy's voice morphed into something more sinister, echoing around her as if multiple voices were now speaking in unison. It's a reckoning. You must face what you fear most. Will you deny it, or will you embrace the truth? It starts with sacrifice. At that moment, a chilling certainty pierced her heart. The sacrifice wasn't merely a piece from the game. It was a choice, one that could shatter her soul or save Mia. A vision surged through her like a rush of cold water, Mia standing at the edge of an abyss, lost in a fog of shadows, her tiny hand reaching out for salvation. Elena's breath quickened, the urgency clawing at her throat. Mommy! Mia cried again, and with that sound, everything shifted inside her. She felt an unrelenting desire to fight against this terror, to save what was hers at any cost. The shadows writhed with renewed fury, pressuring her as they pulled her closer into their tangled depths. Face them, face her. What will you risk? The boy taunted, eyes glimmering maliciously. Could she really confront the depths of her own fears? The darkness whispered promises of despair. And as they closed in, Elena stood her ground, heart racing. I will save her, even if it costs me. But just then, a deafening silence fell. The shadows paused, retreating momentarily as if weighing her words. A flicker of hope ignited amid the despair. Perhaps she could fight back. The boy chuckled, the sound echoing like breaking glass in the eerie silence. Oh, Mommy, the game isn't done yet. The real horror begins now. Elena's breath hitched once more. Realizing the challenge was far from over. The question loomed heavy in the air: how far would she go to protect Mia from the horrors that awaited them? Elena stood in the suffocating grip of darkness, heart racing as the boy's laughter echoed, a haunting reminder of her panic. The shadows twisted around her, pressing in as she focused on the distant voice of her daughter. Was it genuine? Could she trust it? Clenching her fists, Elena pushed back the anxiety, steeling herself. She wouldn't lose Mia. I choose light. She shouted, the desperation honing her resolve. The room shuddered as her words cut through the thick miasma of fear. The boy's smirk faded, replaced by something darker, a shadow of disappointment dancing across his face. Is it truly light you desire? His voice echoed, layered with a chilling intrigue. You think joy conquers all? Your memories are but a whisper against the gravity of despair. The walls trembled, shadows swirling, their edges flickering like flames. Elena could feel the weight of her heart, a terrifying realization washing over her. Every moment that had chipped away her joy rushed back, loss, fear, helplessness. They clawed at her mind, threatening to unravel her dreams of seeing Mia again. Fueled by fear, she pressed her palms against her ears, the haunting laughter swelling around her. "No! I want to let you take me!" She screamed into the darkness, her voice raw and primal. "You don't own me!" The boy's laughter rang out like a death knell, a sound saturated with malice. Brave words for a trapped soul. But remember, the shadows always whisper the loudest truths. As if summoned, memories flooded back every tear, her daughter's laughter fading to silence, the crippling dread when she tasted fear for the first time. Each recollection cut deeper, creating fissures in her courage. But in that swirling chaos, a glimmer sparked a potent reminder of love, urging her forward. In a heartbeat, memories enveloped her, mingling with the dark. She pictured the sun setting behind the playground, Mia's joyful giggles cascading in the wind. "I will save you, Mia!" Elena cried out. The boy paused, intrigue flickering in his shadowy eyes. "Then play. But you shall pay with truth fine." Panic flared, intertwining with determination. "I'll confront my fears." The shadows surged, tightening their grip. "What will you surrender?" The boy stepped back, gesturing at the swirling mist. Taking a deep breath, Elena gathered her courage. "I will let go of my guilt," she declared, the weight lifting ever so slightly from her shoulders. The air crackled with tension as shadows writhed, mirroring her inner turmoil. In that moment, a haunting vision gripped her. She could see Mia again, trapped in an endless labyrinth of despair. "Help me, Mommy." Her daughter's tear-stained face burned in her mind, igniting the furnace of hope within her once more. "Let go of your guilt. What if you gave away your fears instead?" The boy teased, the shadows thrumming like a predator sensing vulnerability. "No." Elena's voice rose. "I won't let you manipulate me anymore." With conviction swelling within her, she stepped forward. "I'm done being afraid." And as her heart surged with defiance, the darkness recoiled, startled by her fierce truth. "I won't give in." She channeled memories of joyful moments, each one igniting her spirit. They danced, illuminating the darkness, cascading against the shadows. The boy faltered, uncertainty creeping into his expression, shadows sputtering and flickering like dying embers. "Mommy." Mia's voice echoed louder, piercing through the shadows like a high beam in the fog. "Help me. I'm coming." Elena yelled, spurred by the pure love flooding through her veins. She charged forward, the oppressive darkness retreating like water dissipating against a tide. The boy hissed, frustration spilling over. "You can't escape the truth." "I'm not running." She screamed. "I'm fighting." Elena surged through the doorway, light spilling in to engulf her. Warmth enveloped her, pushing the shadows back, swallowing the boy's wrathful whispers. As the light swirled around her, stunning clarity washed over Elena. She raced deeper into the hotel's resonance, guided by Mia's glowing presence. The emptiness cradled her gently, whispers cascading like soft rain. And then, as if finally reaching the epicenter of the storm, she burst into a radiant room. "Mia!" she cried, eyes darting around. In an ethereal haze, she saw her daughter small and radiant, bathed in a halo of light, staring back with wide, trusting eyes. "Mommy!" Mia beamed, warmth radiating from her. The shadows retreated, fumbling against the light, screaming in agony. Elena ran, arms outstretched, engulfing Mia in an embrace that felt like home, binding them against the darkness that had threatened to swallow them whole. "You're safe now," Elena whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks, releasing the pent-up dread she'd carried for far too long. "We're free." The shadows shrieked one last time before dissolving into mist, leaving a tranquil silence in their wake. Mia smiled, innocence restored once more. Together, they walked hand in hand out of the motel, its eerie grip finally loosened. As they stepped into the light of dawn, Elena breathed in deeply. The weight of fear had lifted, revealing a world bathed in hope, vivid and alive. They were no longer trapped in the motel's haunting memories, they were free. And that truth resided deep in their hearts, a bond forged not by shadows but by an unbreakable love, and with that love, they stepped forward together, ready to face whatever awaited them. But remember, dear friends, stories like this keep the shadows at bay. So if you want more haunting tales, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the next exclusive story. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And if you enjoyed this thrilling ride, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Be part of this community because every interaction makes a difference.